Percent Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Before we get into today's episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show,
featuring Blocklete Games,
I just wanted to give a shout out to this month's sponsor, who's none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Connie Digital. Everyone listening to the podcast should be familiar with Connie. He's been a guest on here once before. And if you don't know him, he's a legend in the crypto art scene, and he's making waves now with his tokenized music. Just want to make sure that everyone checks out his website at danky.art. That's DANKY.art. And make sure that you sign up for his newsletter. And you can go to conniedigital.com/join to do that. That's CONNIEDIGITAL.com/join. That's it. Make sure you follow Connie Digital, and thank you again for supporting the show. So with that, let's begin today's episode. Okay, we're live. This is Matthew, and I am back with another episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show with my dude, Rizzle. Today, really excited to speak with two gentlemen, Brian Burns and Jon Parise, who are coming to us today from GigLabs and Second Legion. Second Legion is blockchain-powered games lab, and we have a bunch of games that we're going to be talking about today and some really cool projects and events that we have lined up with the Season 3 WHIP edition of the Meta Olympics. So we would like to welcome Brian and Jon to the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
thanks. Good to be here.
Excited to be here.
So to get started, I think just both of you introducing yourselves, giving us a little self-intro, who you are, where you're from, what your bona fides are, and then getting into what GigLabs and Second Legion are. I think that'd be a great way to get the conversation started.
Thanks. Yeah. I'll go first. I'm Brian Burns. I am co-founder and CTO of GigLabs and Second Legion Studios. A little background. I have almost 20 years now of software and product experience in a number of different industries. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2012, and I still have an email exchange between me and my brother right after I discovered it, where I said, this is great, but do you think, Bitcoin can actually gain widespread adoption without the government making it illegal? And I was skeptical at the time, and so I did not go down the rabbit hole for a while. I kept my eye on it, but when Ethereum came out, that's when I did go down the rabbit hole. I thought the prospect of being able to program smart contracts and do more than just financial transactions seemed like a game changer to me. So I started learning as much as I could about both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I attended Atlanta blockchain meetups, and I just immersed myself whenever I could, and while I was working my full-time job. And back then I was working at an Atlanta-based startup where we were building super secure military-grade VPNs. And that's where I met my other co-founder, Douglas Damola. We shared an office, and around mid-2017, we had come up with a bunch of blockchain product ideas. And we just kept coming back to the idea of a decentralized gig worker marketplace. And so we worked nights and weekends on it, and eventually we took the plunge and started GigLabs full-time. Now, fast forward a few months into 2018, we ended up pivoting into NFTs and gaming. We saw the initial use case of CryptoKitties. And also one thing we learned very quickly was that the first best use cases for blockchain were products that are completely digitally native. So for example, when we were building the gig worker marketplace, we built a simple insurance product for workers that could instantly be granted to the gig worker and written to a smart contract, and with no need for underwriting by a human. But, we found out that as you get past the most simple, accidental death and dismemberment policies and things like that, and moving up the chain to workers' comp, it gets really complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. There's humans involved at different phases, and, determining if a policy gets paid out. There's human arbiters and judges if it goes to claims court, and you must follow the laws of the jurisdiction and locality. So smart contracts can't fully manage the entire life cycle of those products. So it will happen once laws catch up, but there's too many moving parts and it's a longer time horizon. So back then we put it on the quote, we're too early bucket. With gaming and art and other things, the entire circle of economic activity can remain digital. So you come in, you buy your game assets, you can buy weapons, characters, wearables, golf clubs, you name it, and advance in the game. And when you're done, you can sell your items or characters to other people and move on. So all this can be entirely managed by a smart contract in a decentralized fashion with no human arbiters or verifiers needed. And so in mid 2018, we developed a game called Crypto Rome, which is now rebranded to Caesar's Triumph. It had everything: economy, resource production, and battle. And this is when we really built up our core tech and also our play to earn model with this game. It laid the foundation for our follow-on projects with Turner Sports and Arena Golf, which is now rebranded to Blocklete Golf, as well as NFT Bridge, which I'm going to let Jon talk about a little bit more, it's an NFT management solution built with enterprise level needs in mind. So just a few things I wanted to mention from Caesar's Triumph that, I wanted to highlight that we built these things back in 2018, possibly ahead of their time, in crypto years, since 2018 seems so long ago now. So we actually had a commodities market in the game for trading the in-game goods, which was essentially Uniswap back on steroids back then. We didn't know the term automated market maker back then, but that was a big innovation. One innovation Uniswap had that we didn't have was the liquidity provider pools. In our case, we were the only liquidity provider, so we didn't have quite the network effects that we could have. The other thing we took super seriously was onboarding, and onboarding, especially back then, it sucked, especially to Web3 games, blockchain games. So we built our own custody wallet solution and credit card acceptance. So that users could log in with username and password and could buy our game assets with credit card, never pay gas, and would never know they're on the blockchain at all. Two other things I'll just touch on. We were the first game to implement the composable NFT standard, which is ERC 998, and also the upgradable contract standard, which is now called the Diamond standard, which lets you have infinite size contracts and individual functional upgrades of individual functions. So we got good traction back then, and that's the long-winded summary of how we kind of got to where we are with Caesar's Triumph. And we spun out the consumer-facing arm of GigLabs out into its own company called Second Legion Studios. And with that, I'm going to stop right there, and I'll hand it over to Jon to give some of his background and also talk about our partnership with Turner Sports, Warner Media.
Yeah, I can give the quick background of how I got into this. So I came into it all pretty unaware of blockchain. I didn't have sort of the knowledge or even the awareness of it prior to getting started with Brian. My background's really in business strategy and marketing mainly. I'm not a programmer, but I was working at this fintech company here in Atlanta, and I was looking for a new job, and Brian reached out to me. We knew each other because our wives also worked together. And he told me what him and Doug were up to. And this was right before the launch of Crypto Rome. And he was, I remember this really clearly. We were at Starbucks and he was telling me about this game they were going to launch. And he was trying to give me this quick primer on NFTs. And he was trying to ground me on sort of what the game was about. And to level set, he was using this example of crypto kitties as this reference point. And I was incredibly skeptical, as I should be when you hear about digital cats. But I'm really drawn to new technology and entrepreneurship in general. So I basically told them I would work on the side with them for free while I was looking for whatever my next thing was going to be. And I was probably a few weeks in, and after doing my own research and working with them, I got completely hooked, and I told them I wanted to join them as a third co-founder. And here we are. So my role is really to do anything that doesn't involve writing and reviewing code, right? So strategy, marketing, business development, requirements gathering, and those type of activities. And so in that respect, I kind of round out what Brian and Doug bring to the table. It's an awesome space to work in. I love it. It's been doing it for about 2.5 years, and I still feel like I know so little about it. things like you guys do with the whip, and you learn about these new projects and you hear about what people are doing with blockchain. It's really thrilling, and to be able to be a part of it has been awesome, and to see it grow over the last couple of years, it's been super rewarding.
It's really interesting to me. Like, you guys clearly have like a very broad understanding of like the future implications of this technology, and it's cool that you guys have gone down a really fun path to sort of like push out your proofs of concepts and what like this technology can do. Generally interested in like how you landed on like Blocklete Golf, for example. Like, I don't know what the correct term is, but like sort of like the athlete dynamics or whatever, like how you weight like the certain characteristics and like all the moving parts that go into this game, I would imagine are either like borrowed from some other, previous games that have done it before, or, just curious how you settled on this and whether you guys are golfers, or like, I know you got the dart game that we've talked about before. Like, how did you land on like the specific paths that you've been executing on?
Yeah, I can answer that first. So we made a pretty conscious decision a year and a half ago or something that we wanted to partner with larger companies to kind of bring new types of NFTs into the space. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Really the brand assets that they bring to the table, we just thought, those are the types of NFTs we wanted to see in the market. And so there's a few companies in Atlanta that we sort of shortlisted, and Turner was one of them, because we're in Atlanta, they're in Atlanta. And I know we don't need to work with local companies, and especially in these days, but it was helpful to kind of build those relationships. And we just started talking to them. And there's a person there who's been leading the project since day one, who's really been the visionary internally to get this started. And they really had two requirements for the type of game they wanted to build. One is sports. So they're in the business of sports. It was Turner Sports that, they're part of Warner Media. So like this huge company, but the team we're working with is specifically inside of Turner Sports. So they wanted to have a sports type of game. And then they wanted it to be skill-based. So not collectibles, and not just, I should say, collectibles and like breeding or card-based type of games. They wanted something that you could actually play, click, tap, to take actions from the players. We talked about a number of different games with them, or sports, I should say. Like, I think horse racing was one of them, boxing was something, and then we just settled on golf with them. It was really, their call at the end of the day. But golf was just something we felt that we could play on a lot of the features of what like NFTs bring. We're right now, the golfers are the NFTs, but we could easily see a future where the clothing are the NFTs and all the equipment are NFTs. And it just made a lot of sense from that respect. And I personally love golf video games. I mean, I don't know if that influenced the decision at all, but I mean, I played a ton of Tiger Woods when I was a teenager and in my 20s. And, if I was in my 20s and I was at a bar, I'd definitely hunt down the golden tee machine. So I was definitely that guy. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to work on that and to build this game. That's kind of how we got to golf.
We did learn early on, there's a collectible use case for NFTs and, straight up just collecting. And then, we like that. But we also like to add, we like the functional aspect of NFTs and pushing the boundaries on what you can do with them. And so gaming is a great use case. And so in building out the economy in Caesar's Triumph, Crypto Rome early on, we knew there needed to be an ultimate use for the assets, whether strongly extrinsic or intrinsic, through money rewards or through just beating people in challenges. But everything ended up, you start with something and then you end up with, you're trying to achieve some goal in the game. And so with Blocklete Golf, one aspect is when you buy your golfer, the horse racing analogy is that, you can own multiple Blockletes or these golfers, and you're kind of like the jockey and the golfer is the horse. And so you can actually have your golfers, you can enter them all into these tournaments, and in the process, you can be training them and upgrading them with other golfers and actually resell them or put them into these cash money tournaments and win money as your ultimate outcome. But you can trade these, quote unquote horses around. If you have good skill in this game, you can do well no matter which golfer you buy, it helps to train them up because they'll play better in game. But, you may be able to beat somebody who's a much better, golfer or NFT. But you're better. You have better skills because you've practiced more and have played more. So there's all of those aspects, and the end result is the economic result for you could either be you win a big tournament prize, or you just increase the value of this golfer in a collectible fashion and increase the value, upgrade it, and then resell it. So that's kind of CryptoKitties did influence us a little bit in our training, the future training market that will be available because of the breeding aspect. We took that and you can actually train with another golfer. You would pay money and upgrade the abilities that way instead of grinding it out and upgrading through gameplay. So yeah, that's a summary of some of the influences and how we came to this model.
So then the NFTs, what they add to this game is they let the individual player accrue experience to a specific character represented as the NFT. And then the NFT itself could function as a ticket in some sort of contest with the cash prize down the line, perhaps. And then maybe with the training aspect, it's if someone has a higher powered player, they could sort of transfer some of those powers to a player that possesses a character with lesser skills or something like that. Is that the core function of the NFT within the context of the game?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct. Except there's no transfer of power. It's the trainer keeps the power and upgrades the other one, and there's a cooldown time. Those mechanics.
So what standard of NFT are you employing here? Is it like that diamond standard that you mentioned? Is it the 998 standard, 1155, or combination thereof?
Yeah, this one's just a vanilla 721 standard. So it's just the normal NFT standard with functionality added on top.
And then when you brought this idea, when you were talking with Warner and Turner about this, from their perspective, what are they seeing the value of incorporating the NFTs into this gameplay as? Is it just a novelty thing, or do they see long-term value in allowing the players of their game to own some of the pieces and things like that?
They see, I would say, where the future is heading with NFTs in general. I would say they don't know exactly, and I think they'd be open to admitting they don't know exactly where this is going to go. From the sense of they've always approached this with this very entrepreneurial mindset. It's been a small team in-house that's been supporting the project, and they are, taking a very test and learn approach, very lean startup type of approach to all of this gameplay, which is cool. I think they see it as an opportunity to expand their relationships with some of the larger sports leagues that they're working with, using NFTs to basically be a new product that they can work with their leagues to create. And then sort of in doing so, the selling point there isn't hey, we've got this new product, but the selling point for them is going to be, we can build a better relationship with your fans because of ownership. And that's this very, for the people listening and to us, it makes sense, right? Because with ownership comes this deeper connection if you own this NFT. But it's going to take time for these leagues and for fans really to wrap their heads around what that actually means. But I think in the long run, they're thinking, okay, if once you have an NFT, you have this better connection with your audience, right? So we saw this in our first game in Caesar's Triumph. When people own land or crypto voxels, let's say, or Decentraland or any of these NFT projects, once you own it, there's this connection you have with it. It's just a lot different than just other digital stuff that's out there. And so I think that's what they're trying to prove out and they're going to say, okay, we can create this new product, but within this new product, there's this way to build this deeper relationship with your fans.
100%, man. I feel like you're probably preaching to the choir here, but I feel like, this is very obviously the future of gaming. And especially for myself, personally, I'm someone who spent their childhood grinding out different video games, both sports and RPGs, and, accumulating experience and leveling up my characters and like acquiring all these weapons that would probably be worth a fortune at this point in time if they were like NFTs and I could, unload them onto people. So in terms of like, what NFTs add to the ecosystem, I feel like, especially people like ourselves who grew up playing these types of video games, it's like a very like obvious value add. But again, man, especially with your empire building game, like I would imagine like balancing the tokenomics within the game, and same thing with Blocklete Golf, like, just brass tacks, like how to determine like the cooldown period, in one character versus another once they achieve like certain levels, like how much ability they're able to earn. Is that sort of like, did you borrow that from your previous game, or is that sort of like a almost like a blueprint that you can just sort of adjust the metrics from game to game? Or I would imagine, at least from an outsider's perspective, that balancing that properly is somewhat complicated.
Yes, it's very challenging, and it's not. I don't think you can take a blueprint from game to game. We have models and economic models, and it's very, very hard. It's not easy. And then, I think, I don't know, we spent so much time even on this latest, on any new economic feature. Anything you add, it alters the economy you've already built from a supply and demand perspective. If you add a feature that's core, the internal economics of the game, it could have this unintended consequence. You just need to be careful when introducing new features to even the existing games.
Yeah, it is weird. It's interesting building out these models, and I've spent a lot of time doing that with this game, with our other game. And you kind of see, okay, well, if we introduce the ability to upgrade your golfer, it's going to impact what happens over here. Pricing becomes a challenge. But the cool thing with like this training market, for example, that we're going to be introducing soon, it's all going to be driven by the players, right? So they're going to set the prices. We're going to create the ability for them to train and to set their prices and set the value. And we just have to hope that we set it up in a way that people do find value in it. But yeah, it is a challenging exercise, but we do take that part very seriously.
And then in terms of like the target users, are you looking for people that are familiar with golf games and want to expose them to power of NFTs and crypto, or are you targeting mainly crypto natives who are more familiar with this? And I guess like the follow-up or related question to this is, what sort of like applications or extensions would a user be required to be familiar with in order to take full advantage of the NFT capabilities of Blocklete Golf?
Well, the short answer is it's still very the early adopters are crypto native people and investor persona, but also there's a lot of gamers interested. We focus this time on making it pretty much hyper casual, so you can play around pretty quickly and then see the results. And but also, we made the onboarding very, very simple. You don't know you're on the blockchain. We mention it in the marketing, but you don't need to know that you're on the blockchain. You can still make purchases with credit cards and participate in gameplay without any wallet that you have to get or paying the gas and that kind of thing.
Are you using an injected wallet, or what sort of setup, like a Magic or Fortmatic, or what are you using behind the scenes?
Not yet. Yeah. We're still using our own solution, which is a custody wallet solution for those to onboard newcomers. The idea is to migrate them as they become familiar with blockchain into their own. They'll be comfortable enough to get their own wallet and manage their own NFTs down the line. But we wanted to remove all the friction initially for the mainstream users. Yeah,
the goal for us was to get people into play, let them buy a golfer, and then when it comes time that they actually want to sell it, or if they win money in a tournament, well, then that hurdle of maybe downloading MetaMask and trying to understand what a digital wallet is actually worth it to them. Right. Then it's much more appealing if it's like, oh, I've got $50 that I'm going to get, or whatever the reason, or somebody wants to buy my golfer, then that's when they need to actually make that transfer. But we make that first step really easy. It's really get on board right away and start playing, within a few minutes.
That seems like the name of the game lately is like ease of access and sort of what you guys alluded to earlier, like, presenting a way for people to play without necessarily needing to navigate the blockchain or know that they're even on the blockchain in the first place. Curious to know, like, help me get to the dart game that you guys are unrolling. And I know that's going to be a featured event in the Meta Olympics, or at least that's the plan at the moment. And I got to imagine, you guys aren't releasing like Blocklete mini golf or like Blocklete driving range. Like somehow you guys landed on darts. So I would imagine like either y'all like darts or there's some like interesting like tokenomics model that you want to like, prove out through this dart game, or how did you land there?
Yeah, so not even that complicated. It really what we like sat down and we were like, well, what's going to be our next project, or like what's the next thing we want to try to do? And Brian kind of alluded to this earlier, but like we're constantly kind of thinking about NFTs and adding features to them, or adding functionality, or making them more usable. Not to say that NFTs aren't awesome as is, but just like what's more stuff we can do with them. And we started kind of looking around at like what are the trends or the things that are happening in the space that we're most drawn to. And so that's kind of how we came up with this concept. So we're starting with darts, and to be honest, I don't know why we settled on darts specifically as a game. Mainly is because we've been using so the game engine for golf, for Blocklete Golf, is Play Canvas. And we thought we could develop a pretty cool, simple, fun darts game using that same game engine. And so really what it is, and we've been alluding to darts, but really it's like these metaverse playable dartboards that double as collectible digital art. And so there's like a lot to unpack in there, but it's really like the NFT itself is this game, and you own the dartboard, and you can invite people to play on it. It's like your thing, right? It's an NFT. Then there's the digital art piece. That's kind of the space that we're like really attracted to with NFTs, and are just like so amazed at all the cool stuff that's coming out there. And we're letting people basically have this canvas of a dartboard and like the surrounding area behind a dartboard to create this art, right? And so we're partnering with a lot of money. I think, Rizzle, you made the intro for us to him, so thank you for that. And so we're pumped that he's going to create this first board. And then there's this metaverse interactivity. And I think like we love, like I get lost in crypto voxels. I can just like spend a ton of time there when my computer's not crashing. But like it's awesome. And we're like, what are more things we can do here? And so kind of the idea is, the way it'll work is if you have this dartboard, you own this NFT, you can hang it up in the metaverse. It'll look like this cool piece of art. And when you get close to it and you interact with it, it's going to take you to this room where you can play your round of darts, and it'll portal you back when you're done.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a work of NFT art / like appear like a dartboard that'll transfer you to the actual like dart playing realm or whatever.
And when you're not playing it, you can show it off in whatever metaverse you're in.
Yeah, and it's so bizarre to even like try to explain. But yes, you nailed it. That's exactly right. And it like we had talked about trying to create the game inside the world, right? So like you would actually play darts inside of voxels or inside of Decentraland, but we sort of wanted to be like, call it metaverse agnostic, right? Like we think they're all cool. And most of these builders, they don't have these like physics engines built into it just yet. And even if they did, they're going to be different across worlds. And so if we did it this way, we can have control over the physics and the gameplay while you're actually throwing darts. but then people can take this dartboard, this art, wherever they want and show it off.
Yeah, so we're that's kind of up in the air still. We're going to see, we're going to test it out. And, one idea that we're going to probably launch with is to make it look kind of like the environment you portaled from. But if depending on the feedback, we could make it to where you can walk around this room to other art pieces or boards or other even games in this side room, metaverse side room type thing. We're going to see. We haven't decided completely yet.
Dude, I had no idea this concept was so cool. I mean, I got the pitch from you guys like before, and I was like, yeah, a lot of money. Seems like he would be down for this kind of thing. And I guess I just assumed like the dartboard itself was going to be like then auctioned off as like a piece of art. I didn't realize that it was essentially going to be like a portal to the game itself. What's the run of these like initial dartboards? I'm like having some FOMO right here. Like give me some specs, dude.
One of one right now.
FOMO factor off the charts.
So we're that, like when you were asking the original question about like tokenomics and how the game economy is going to play out, we were like, well, we've actually come up with a ton of different ideas around that. But we said, okay, let's put that on pause for now. Let's get this first board done. Let's get people playing it. We'll hang it up in CryptoVoxels somewhere. Let people come in and play it, get a feedback, tweak the game, make sure it's fun. We'll probably run some contests on it. We are going to auction. The plan is right now we'll auction the board off at some point. And and then we'll go from there. Probably, I mean, the plan now is at least more artists get more boards created, and then long term more games as well. Anything with a board, we'll create these games around it and let artists design them because it's fun, right? It's kind of cool and different, and we think people are gonna really like it.
And then the game realm that the dartboard as portal takes you to, will that also be sort of like custom or somehow linked with the design of the dartboard, or will that be common for everyone that gets portaled there? Like for future dartboards that you create, will they all go to the same gaming realm?
Yeah, we were thinking if it all fails, you'll at least have this awesome one-of-a-kind art piece that'll look really cool. But we're obviously planning for much more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, with this game engine, it can support as many, just like the golf game. It's going to load its own instance locally in your browser clients. So theoretically, we just have to load the right room and the right board and your instance of the game, and it'll all connect to a common leaderboard that can be displayed in the metaverses, so that people see in real time how the competition's doing, or you can host your own contests on your own dartboard that only you and your friends can see, for money or not for money, just for fun. So those are all, that's kind of the concept. But no, there is no technical reason you couldn't have quite a few. And beyond artists, we don't want. We're very cognizant of the scarcity aspect. We don't want to release that many of them. Maybe we could do a series of 5 or something, or maybe 10 from one artist that are all unique, but maybe slightly changed from the original. We do something like that, and also we're thinking about branded boards, or from brands that they may be interested in sponsoring tournaments or boards, and so we're not sure where it's going to go, but those are some possibilities.
God damn it. There's no way I'm going to be able to afford this thing if it's a 1 out of 1.
Right.
You guys really need to consider doing like a run of 50 or something like that. Dude, especially if we do this at the Met Olympics, I feel like people are going to lose their minds, man. Especially like a lot is like an OG, like whip attendee who, everyone who attends our events is like very, very familiar with him. There's no way I'm going to be able to get one of these things, man. What?
I'm so pumped that a lot of money is doing this. It just feels like such a perfect fit. His art is so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're developing something that's sort of experiential, fun, and different, and that's like his art. Like his stuff is so cool, and we're thrilled that he's doing this with us.
Dude, can we just do like a run of 50 like Rizzle boards or something, and I'll just like splash some paint on it just so I could get one of my honest question though, like if you is that's something that can be supported? Like let's say you were to do a run of like 50 dartboards for a certain artist, does that require like a lot of back end like 50 separate portals to be created, or is that something that is not like once you do one, doing 25 or 50 is essentially the same, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, steps that companies like Turner, they're taking these initial steps into NFTs and gaming, and you're going to see more companies doing this, whether it's to promote IP or because they're gaming companies to begin with. Within 5 to 10 years, I think the business model for gaming will be completely upended. Players are going to own their in-game assets and be able to sell them when they're done playing. It's not going to be that you buy a gaming title or a cartridge or whatever. You're going to actually be owning the in-game assets, and there will be ecosystems and marketplaces, whether or not they're decentralized or centralized, for buying and selling assets.
It's a true work in progress.
So I think
well.
It's not going to happen tomorrow, but probably in 5 to 10 years, we're going to see
real.
This whole model, this whole new gaming business model.
Don't let Rizzle influence your decisions too much, just to benefit his ends. But I mean, for sure, like having like a small limited edition definitely plays well with like the community marketplace vibe that sometimes springs up at the whips. But scarcity is also like obviously for the artists really, really prized. And speaking as an owner of a lot of money, keep that scarcity alive. It's also beneficial to all the other collectors of his stuff. But kind of zooming out from these specific projects and what you guys are doing for the Meta Olympics, looking at the state of like NFT gaming generally, like how do you guys conceive of it? I mean, I feel like there's a collective exercise trying to formulate the best pitch for what NFTs can represent heading forward, whether that be like the future of brand IP or licensing done digitally. I know the play to earn meme is a very powerful thing that the folks over at Axie have done a great job at propagating. But like, how do you guys think about NFTs heading forward for gaming outside of what you guys are doing right now with these two excellent examples?
That's a massive question. As far as like NFTs and games go, it changes the reason for playing quite a bit. And like you play a lot of the games we played growing up, like you play them for fun, right? You play them to escape. You play them, and now there's a lot of social aspects to it, right? So sort of, there's no two-way direction of value, right? Like you're not playing it to actually earn any money. As soon as like you add that piece to it, it does change the dynamic. And some games, NFT games, it's like all about making money. It's all it's about. Others, it's about sort of more of those intrinsic reasons for playing. And I think we have to find a balance there. But it is about like that player economy. Like you let the players decide what they want to do, right? As long as you can create multiple reasons for playing. It's not just about like swindling the other players or trying to make a quick buck. But like you can make investments, or you can play for fun, or you can do both. And I think there's a balance there that hasn't quite been found. I think Axie's doing a good job with that. But I think that's probably more of the future of gaming. And I think like you asked earlier about like NFTs and gaming and why or what's going to happen in the future. And like there was a chart that I think Non-Fungible.com put out or something, but it showed how much money CryptoKitties has made and how much money their players have made. And I think like the players have made something like double what Dapper Labs has made. And I was like, when I saw that, I was just thinking that's like the future, because like all those people are going to be so loyal now to CryptoKitties. Like they're going to want that. And so when I think about like brands coming into the space or wanting to create NFTs, it's like that's why they should be thinking about NFTs, is because if you create them, your fans are going to share in the value of your brand, and they're going to be so loyal. And I like I told you, my background's in marketing, but like that's what I'm thinking about. It's like you want loyal customers, and NFTs can bring sort of this new level of loyalty, which I don't think many people are thinking about yet. But I definitely think that's where brands are going to go. Like, I mean, think about Top Shot. Like, I would say NBA Top Shot, those people are going to be super loyal to the NBA because, like, soon enough, people who are selling their moments are going to be making more than what NBA Top Shot did. And I just think that's so cool.
Do you see gaming even looking like gaming heading forward? And I ask that just because of the models of farming that a lot of the projects that have kind of adopted sort of the DeFi yield farming gamification model too. Like Meme Force, you have NFTs that you can stake other tokens towards, and you can mine NFTs and things like that. Like, is the future of gaming something that is not here yet? Like totally in how people will approach it when it's combined with NFTs and like the crypto powered tools that are being developed and that have been developed?
Yeah, it's a stickiness factor. What our one metric, once you get someone to, a player to buy their first asset in your game, the stickiness is at a much, much higher level than with other products, because now they feel like a stake in.
No, I'm not in my head. I totally agree.
Dude, totally. I mean, this has got to be like really, we're at ground zero, or just like the first iteration of like, basically this technology allowing us, I'd say us, not me, obviously, but like us, the NFT community, like recreate these games that were built upon like similar business models, but you just couldn't do anything with your stuff because they were locked like in game. And so unlocking these like same concepts that like, tremendous games have been built around, that you can't, sell anything or move anything to the open market, and just being able to like recreate those games, but with like a proper decentralized economy, I feel like is a massive step forward for the future of gaming. And then who knows like what the next like couple iterations is like built upon something like that. Maybe it's dartboards that take you like through a portal into another world that are one of ones sold by like famous artists, that you could then stake for yams or like some shit. No, I don't know.
You mentioned real quick, like you mentioned like business models though, and around gaming. And I think that what has to change will be customer demand, right? And like people who play games just need to start shifting more towards these types of blockchain games, or else like we're not going to see a huge expansion, right? These video game companies still make piles and piles of money on business models that are tested and known. And so that's what I like to see. And it's cool because it is growing a lot, especially like in the last couple of years that we've been like in it. We've seen it grow, and I think it's going to continue to grow. But yeah, it's gonna take. It's a tough sell to like a big game company or like one of these like free to play model games, because they're doing so well. They're making a lot of money. But I think eventually consumers are going to start to shift their attention towards these types of games where there's actually some more value beyond just wasting some time.
Totally. And I mean, I'm guessing that we're probably going to have to come up with like a new metric, like loyalty. It feels a little bit too timid or tepid to me. Almost like we have to look at like the rabidity or like the rabidness of the fans, because some of these communities, you have a tier of folks who are just insane for the project, like every day going bonkers, like doing everything they can, FOMOing into it, and all hours of the day, right? Just to be a part of this, and they love it, right? And I feel like I've never, coming from not like a super deep in the gaming area or collecting area, but like having a lens or a view into both of those sectors, I've never seen anything like what's happening in these early like collectible meets gaming meets blockchain gaming communities. It's something it feels really, really different than what came before it. Or maybe that's just me.
I agree with you, man. One thing we always like to ask people who come on the show is to sort of rifle through their crypto wallets and see what else you guys are tinkering with on the side, or like if you're collecting any like cool stuff that isn't necessarily like directly related to business, and what you guys are cooking up. What cool NFT stuff do you guys play around with in your own time?
Yeah, I'm looking. NBA Top Shots. I've got quite a few, and Garbage Pail Kids. I have a bunch of unopened packs and open packs. I'm waiting for Series 2. Let's see. I've got quite a few old ones. I've stale MLB champions, and and of course doing just dabbling with yield farming. Not just to be immersed in just about everything. But I'm not hardcore doing anything on that front. Yeah, that's right. Not a deviant yet. Because even those, as you mentioned, those concepts apply to even the gaming model. You can use it to fuel network effects as lots of projects are doing. So keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, for me, I've been getting into Top Shot as well. I just love their user experience. It's just cool stuff, and I really admire this, like the work that Flo is doing and the Dapper team is doing over there to really focus on building a blockchain that's specific for this use case. I love CryptoVoxels. I like Sandbox, although I haven't done as much. CryptoVoxels is really fun for me because I'm not an artist, but they create these tools that just make it pretty easy to do. I even like downloaded Magic of Voxel, and I'm like, I'll create random stuff, and I'll like send a Slack to Brian, and I'll be like, check out this. I made our logo the other day. I was like, check out the logo I made. I'm super excited. But yeah, it's just fun. I love all these projects where it's just like, here, we're going to give you the tools to create and go and create. And then there's like people who are like me, who are less talented at creating something visually stunning. And then there's, people like, Coley and A Lot of Money and whomever else like is developing these awesome builds in these worlds. And I just love it. I got my Whip coin in my wallet, of course. But I'll just tell you guys, I love, that is like my favorite time of week to hop in there and hear what what people are working on and learning about new stuff. It's just an awesome experience every single week. I love it.
I'll second that.
Casual dabbler, not a degen. Are you sure?
Nice.
Well, with that compliment, I have to say that you two gentlemen are the best guests we've ever had on the Matthew and Rizzle show.
Yeah. I was thinking that even before.
It was awesome to have the chance to talk with both of you. Before we wrap up, I just want to make sure that we hit everything that you wanted to cover, and that you guys shout out all the channels that you want folks to follow you at. So let the audience know what channels they need to be following you at. And then outside of the Meta Olympics event that we're planning, any other dates on the calendar that they should be lining up for themselves?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, secondlegion.com. That's probably the quickest way to find us. Our Twitter handle is, I wish it was just Second Legion. It's like 2ND Legion Studio. So just find us at I couldn't get Second Legion. It's like taken by somebody who hasn't tweeted in 6 years, and I'm trying to get it. But yeah, just go to secondlegion.com and you can find us. And then you could go into in Discord, if you go to the Blocklete Golf, if you go to blockletegames.com, that's the site for the game, and you can find us in Discord over there. We're pretty much responding to everything, and then as far as like upcoming dates, we'll be sharing when the first rare board is ready to be played. We'll probably go into the Whip and to any other place to just share the news, and be on the lookout for that probably later this month.
That's awesome. Well, once again, Brian and Jon, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today, and keep on creating.
Cool. Thanks.
Hey again, this is Matthew. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. And just want to give one more shout out to this month's sponsor, Connie Digital. Make sure that you follow him and go check out his latest updates at danky.art. And definitely, if you're not already signed up, make sure you join his email newsletter by going to conniedigital.com/join and filling in your email address and ETH address. That's conniedigital.com/join to join Connie Digital's email newsletter. Thank you all, and see you on the next episode.
Send podcast. Rizzle. Send podcast. Send podcast. Rizzle. Send podcast.